Welcome back to another No Rucks Given. So today we're diving deep into Wales rugby and its current crisis. So they've finally beaten Japan and ended an 18-game losing streak, which dates back to October 2023, the Rugby World Cup. Look, Welsh rugby's now eyeing some structural reform just to survive. Can a new era under a new coach actually save the Dragons? So 18. 18 is the magical number. Before finally beating Japan, 2025, the last time they won a game was against Georgia, where they won 43-19 at the Rugby World Cup, October 7th, 2023. Since then, besides the Barbarians game, which is not an actual official test, so even though they won that one, they went on a historical losing streak. 18 straight games, including a Six Nations run where they lost every single game, summer tour against some pretty big heavyweights, and a shock home loss to Fiji of all teams, who are not the Fiji of old, it's the Fiji of current, who may have started to find some reform and some refreshment, but they're not a team of old where you would really fear a Fiji or a Samoa. So this is their worst record in the professional era. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they also have the second worst record, losing streak as I'm talking about, in the professional era, which I believe is 10 straight games. So they've nearly doubled it in this, I guess, historic run. Can a new era actually save them? So Steve Tandy, who's a former defensive coach for Scotland, and he was a Lions assistant coach for a while, takes over from September officially. He's got a key part to play in Welsh rugby's 5-year strategy to re-establish Wales at the top of rugby. It's a tough one. But here's the scary thing that's coming up as well, is as part of the strategy, they're possibly consolidating some of their teams. So they've got 4 teams that currently play. You've got Cardiff Scarlets, Ospreys and Dragons. 1 and potentially 2 of them are going to lose all funding, and that's that. So from 4 regions down to 2 or 3, but you're looking to bring in new blood and grow Welsh rugby. But now there won't be enough space for players to actually play. Now, obviously, this comes as part of some financial troubles and everything like that. So I do understand that part. But if your focus is to bring Welsh rugby back to the top, where they were a revered and feared team, to lose those stepping stones, as it were, that's going to be tough. So, what do I think is the cause of this collapse? Now, off the field, Wales has been dealing with governance issues, some toxic workplace allegations in the union, and just constant leadership changes. Gatlin came back, then he left, and came back, and now it's a new guy, and that's not working, so let's try again. It's tough when you're losing. But consistency is what helps to actually build something. Unfortunately, it's a full systematic failure on and off the pitch. That's what it boils down to. But look, there's some hope. Finally, a breakthrough. After 18 straight losses, the second test, Wales was able to overcome Japan. They beat them 31-22 in an incredible test that really could have gone either way. Now, look, it wasn't pretty, but, keen performances from Jenkins, Tommy Reffel, Sam Costello, that showed promise. That showed what Welsh rugby could be, was striving to be. And I think if they're going to do anything, take a picture out of what the Wallabies did in Test 2 against the Lions. Even Test 1, even though they've lost both of those tests, everyone wrote off the Wallabies. But they managed to come back. That's what Welsh rugby's got to somehow pull off. So there's a couple of problems that still plague them. They're quite vulnerable at set piece, whether it's scrum or line out. There hasn't been that consistency. There, even at breakdown, they've been pretty inconsistent. And tactical hesitancy that has basically plagued them through really close losses, whether it was the close loss against Scotland or Italy or England, where they led for portions of some of those games. But because of the inconsistency in that ability to close out a test, resulted in a loss. Now, the rest of 2025 does not get any easier. They've got 4 tests remaining now after this July series. Argentina, Japan, New Zealand, and then South Africa. The last 2 tests are the current number 1 and number 2 in the world standings. So it's not going to be an easy win over any of these teams. Now, should be a little bit easier for them. These 4 games will be at home, but the home of Welsh rugby hasn't necessarily been a stronghold for them across the last 2-3 years. So what needs to change? Now, this will be difficult because of the potential loss of 1 or 2 of their provincial teams, their lower down ranks, to try and create new talent and nurture new talent, but they need fresh talent. They lost incredible players. I mean, Alan Wynne-Jones, one of the greatest rugby players of all time, one of the greatest just advocates for Welsh rugby. Unfortunately, he's no longer there. He's not even in the setup. Now, obviously, he's retired and everything, but maybe that's an opportunity. Bring him back as someone just to talk to the players. The Springboks have that with Dwayne Vermeulen, a 2-time World Cup winner. He's involved. He's, water boy. So trying something to just help nurture that fresh talent, because it's all well and good to get fresh talent, but if it's not nurtured, then what? And then a must improve is defensive discipline. I mean, that's what's plaguing them at the moment. Teams are just able to carve them up just far too easily. And structure. There's such a dysfunctional relationship at the moment between the different regions in Welsh rugby and what they want the national strategy to be. You need to all be on the same page. Yes, you can play your own styles of rugby and all of that, but there needs to be a consistent structure and goal going forward. So this is how I see the end of their 2025. I think it's going to be a close loss to Argentina. Argentina notoriously can just be all over the place when they're not playing at home. But I think their strength and how they're playing at the moment, and look, let's see how they play in the Rugby Championship, but they've made such a step forward in the last couple of years. I think it's going to be hard, but I think it'll be close. Of these 4 games, I think Japan is realistically the only one they're going to win. And realistically, the one that they should have earmarked, circled on their calendar, as this is what we're aiming for. New Zealand's always a tough one, and the current world number ones in South Africa are just so defensively and offensively fluid at the moment. I struggle to see many teams able to beat them, even when they're playing away. So Japan's realistically the only one that I see them winning. Now, if they're able to pull off 2 wins, an Argentina and a Japan, I think then you can say then there's some momentum. There's something growing. It's a 1 win. I think it's a bit of a harder argument, and they lose all 4 of these tests. I mean, they're back to a 4-game losing streak. The Welsh are at their lowest right now. 18 losses in a Welsh Rugby Union overhaul that is in motion at the moment. But I think with the appointment of a new coach, this win over Japan, and plans to try and rebuild some sort of regional offer of hope, maybe they can turn it around. It is a 5-year plan, and I think that's the important thing. It's not going to happen overnight. There needs to be patience and hope and belief that who they put in place now is who will take them forward over the next 5 years. The dominant Springboks over the last 8 years, they didn't happen overnight. They were at their lowest point when Rusty was called to come and take over. When he started, it didn't turn around overnight. So am I saying that this new coach is going to be the Rusty of Wales? I don't know. It's too early to say, but there's always hope. If you like what I'm talking about, disagree with what I'm talking about, drop a comment, please subscribe, hit a follow, a like, all those good things. This has been No Rucks Given. I'll see you in the next one.